It is part 2 of lesson 9, and we sort of set up our site to be able to add items to the shopping cart. We've added a username field to our cart table and a username string property to our cart model. And we've added buttons. Okay, I don't want to talk over a whole bunch of people. Thanks. So we'll call our add to cart method. We'll pass in our product. But our add to cart method right now, it just redirects to the shopping cart method in view, which we haven't created yet. So we're going to need some code in here to take the product ID and actually add it to the database. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a new cart object. We're going to instantiate an instance of a shopping cart object. We're going to populate that object, and then we're going to add it and save. We haven't done this code manually before. When we've been saving new data, we've just been using scaffolding to do this. So we're actually going to do this manually this time. So our first thing we'll fill is the product ID. Where do we get the product ID value from? We have it here. Yeah, from the parameter that comes in, right? When we call the add to cart method, there's a product ID parameter and it on. You can see it in the status bar. When I mouse over different add to cart buttons, we get different product IDs down here. So there's our product ID. We'll set the quantity. For now, we'll just hard code it in to 1. Maybe in the shopping cart, we'll let users update it. For now, we'll just set it as. We also now need to get the price. Okay. Why do we need to store the price? We already have the product price over here in the product model. Right? We have a price. We should also store the price over here. Why? Yeah, if the price is modified, we need to record what price did the user put it in their cart at. Okay. So we're going to have to get this product and look up the price. So let's select also a product. So we can call, we'll call single or default. This will give us a null object if the ID is not found, or a product object if it is found. And we'll use that product object to get the current price. Now we also need to deal with the username. And remember, we've got 2 different scenarios. The user is logged in and we have their email address, or they're shopping anonymously and we don't know who they are. So for the moment, just to test this method, I'm just going to hard code in a username. We'll assume I'm anonymous. So I'll just put it in as cart.username equals some user. We'll modify this in a bit. We're going to call db.carts.add. And then we call the save changes method entity framework. This will actually add, this is the same code that our scaffolding writes. It adds an item to the collection and then calls save. And then we want to redirect. So maybe we'll just make an empty shopping cart method in view for now, so we don't get an error. It'll just take us off to this empty view. So we're going to have to make some changes to this eventually, but we'll see if we can actually save the correct product and price along with our hard-coded user ID. We'll create a simple get shopping cart method. Just return review. No parameters are required on the shopping cart page. Later on, we'll add a link in the navigation bar to the cart, so a user can always go to directly to their shopping cart, no matter where they are. And then we'll just create an empty view called shopping cart. So I'll just right-click my shopping cart method and click add a view. We'll modify this later, but we'll just create it as an empty view. So at least we won't get a 404 page. When we add to cart, we should get taken to this empty shopping cart page. Then we can look in the database in the cart table and see if anything actually got saved. So I'll just add this kind of a blank view for now. We'll work on this page after. So we'll need to build because we've added code in our add to cart and we've created a shopping cart method. So I'm going to go back and click on add to cart now, and then we'll look in the database and see if it actually saved anything and if it saved the right information. Did it give us the right product ID? Did it give us the right price? Did it save the user ID we've hard coded? So I'm going to try adding this product. My ID is 1003, price is $7.99. So those values should get saved to the carts table. I should get taken off to our empty shopping cart page, hopefully. Okay. We have a validation error. What is our problem? So our database that was silly. Here's why. We have a cart ID, but we never populated the cart ID. So yes, we should change this to an int and set the identity on. And then we'll need to change the cart model to reflect that this is an int. Right? So we'll change our cart ID to an int. And I'll set the identity property, the isIdentity. I'll toggle that from no to yes and save. I didn't think this through very carefully when I designed the table. So we'll need to go back to our cart model where we've added the username property. We have a cart ID, but it's listed as a string. So we'll modify that to be an integer. So I'll say yes to that warning. And in my cart model, our cart ID should be instead. And I'll take out the string length. So I'll rebuild now that we have our card ID. I think I know what I was thinking. I was thinking we could just use the user ID as the primary key, but we can't because one user may have multiple items in the cart. And the ID is going to be unique. So we wouldn't be able to put the same user ID in more than once. What's happening here? So cart. So now it's complaining. I may have to take out this line in my DB model. Yeah, so in my DB model, I have this declaration on model creating of the cart ID. I think I can just delete that or comment it out. I don't think we need this now that it's an integer. So you can either remove that line from your DB model or disable it. The primary keys don't need that. Okay, so I'll try again. Back. We'll try it again. In my cart table, currently there should be no data. No, I just left it as empty. We'll create it. Okay. So now it's recorded. My product in here. If I go back and, right, and now we get our empty shopping cart page. If I want to go back and add another product, so we can save an item to the cart. Good. But now we need to think through the logic. It's not done because we've kind of faked this. This cart.username isn't really going to work. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to do a check if the user's logged in. If the user's logged in, we want to use their username. If the user isn't logged in, we want to generate a unique value on the server that will be attached to that user's session. So long as this user's using our site and they add items to the cart, they're all added to the same username. But that username is kind of like a placeholder. It's like a temporary, like a session ID. If they leave the site and come back tomorrow, they're going to have a different session ID, and whatever they put in their cart today kind of gets abandoned. So we're going to need to use sessions and create a method here for this. Private method, be private. We'll call it get cart ID. So we're going to call this method before we add to cart. First thing is we want to know, do we already have a current cart ID? Or is this the first item and there's no existing shopping cart in memory? That's the first question. We can use a session variable. Unlike the super annoying PHP feature where you have to call session start before we can use the session, we don't have to do this in .NET because, well, it just makes sense. So we'll check, whoops, and this should be equals. So if our session cart ID is null, there's nothing in the shopping cart yet. So now we need to make a decision. Is the user logged in? Do we know who they are? Or are they anonymous and we're going to have to generate some kind of ID to attach to their cart? So we'll need another if statement here. So if our user identity.name is an empty string, are they logged in or are they anonymous? Yeah, they're anonymous. We have no identity. So in this case, we'll set the user ID. Whoops, sorry. Card ID, maybe card IDs. Sorry. What did we call this? We called it username. I should probably call my method in my session variable username. I apologize. I'm just going to rename this. We'll call it get username. Get. So if you don't know who this person is, they're shopping anonymously. This is the first item that they're putting in the cart. We can use the .NET globally unique identifier class. This will generate a random string of numbers and letters that the framework is guaranteeing will be unique. We can have 1 million users, everyone's going to get a unique value. So we can call GUID.new GUID. This will return a random string. That's only valid for this session. The user closes the browser, opens a different browser, goes to a different device, they'll get a different GUID. Otherwise, we'll set our session variable to user.identity.name. So if we know who they are, we'll grab their email address, and that will be the ID for all the items in their cart. If we don't have their email address, we'll generate some random string that's attached to this user section. If they put multiple items in the cart, everyone will be attached to that same random string. So we need to, whoops, and this returns, sorry, this is void. We're not returning anything, we're just using the session variable so that this value will persist as the user moves around the site. So we need to call this method now before we add to cart. The very first thing we're going to do identify we'll call get cart username. Then we want to change this. What should go here instead of my hard-coded string? Yeah, we'll use our session cart username, which is either an email address of a logged in user or some random GUID string that we've generated. Username. I think we'll have to call toString. So if we try this again now, I'm going to try putting 2 items in my cart, and it should be attached to the same username, which is just going to be like ABC123, whatever the server gives me. So I'll go back and try shopping again. I'll actually try products in some different categories, but they should be attached to that same username now. So we'll see what I've got. So I'll add, buy myself a card today. So notice, doesn't know who I am, didn't have any value for username in the session, so it generated one. So now the key question is, if I add another item to my cart, I should hopefully get the same username. So the database knows both of these items belong to me. So I will go back, pick something different. Good, that's the result we need. So now we can build the shopping cart view. We can use this session username and retrieve those two records and display them in my as the current content of my cart. Then we could have a remove from cart, and then we can move on to checkout. Now I'm going to try this in a different browser. I'm going to grab this link, and I'll go down to Chrome. And let's see what happens if I'm logged in and I shop. I'm going to log in. Or I could even log in with my Google or Facebook account if I want. So I'm going to buy the same item. I'll buy a watch. But I'm logged in as customer. So notice, when it knows who I am, it attaches it to my profile. So this is better from the store's point of view, because now I can leave the site, not check out, come back tomorrow, log in again as customer, and if I go to my shopping cart, it will still be here. We'll see this when we actually build the cart page. Okay? If I close my browser as an anonymous user and go back to my cart, when I reopen it, the cart's going to be wiped out if I close that browser. But if I'm logged in and see my cart with this account, I can leave, close the browser, come back as soon as I log in and look at the cart. The watch I put in there is still going to be there, which is better for the business. It's more likely I'm going to buy it if it's already in my cart. It's also convenient as a shopper because we may want to find and pick items, but we're not ready to pay for them yet. But it allows us to store those to be bought later. Okay, so now we've got to build this page, which shouldn't be very difficult. What will we need to do in order to populate our shopping cart? Yeah, we're going to run a query on the cart table, and we're going to pass in the session username. That'll give us a list of items in this user's cart, and we can just display them in a grid. So actually what I think I'm going to do, just to make this a bit easier, I'm actually going to delete this. So Emilio, this is coming back to your question from before. We have a blank shopping cart page. We could add all the code manually, or we can delete this, and now we can scaffold it. And we can pick the shopping cart, the cart model, and the list template. And it will automatically then give us a list of items in the cart table, rather than writing all the code ourselves. So I'm going to delete this view. I'm going to go down to views and store. I'm actually going to delete the shopping cart view, and then I'll regenerate it with scaffolding. And then we can make some changes to it. So I'll delete it. And I'm going to rescaffold it, but instead of picking an empty view, I'm going to pick the cart model and a list template. So right-click shopping cart, add a view. So this is what we did before. So our template is list, and our model is cart. Now, by default, this is going to give us all the cart items from everybody. So we're going to have to add a filter in the code, so we don't want to get all the items in everyone's cart. We only want the items in our cart, yeah, for the particular user. So we'll rescaffold. I don't need to rebuild. All I did was delete the view and recreate it. right? So now we've got an IEnumerable of type cart, and we've got a for each loop that displays all the items in the cart table. So if I just refresh, that's interesting. Okay. This is exactly what happened in the midterm, right? We've got this error on the for each loop. The for each loop is correct. There's nothing wrong with this line of code. Why is it crashing? Where did you have to look in the midterm or your lab last week in order to fix this? Right, so let's look. We're looping through our model. Our model is an IEnumerable of cart. All of that's correct. But our controller's not passing in a list, right? All we're doing is loading a view. And that view is expecting data that it's not getting. At the current users. So we're going to use the session variable. We'll store it in a local variable. I'll show you why in a minute. You might think, well, do we really need a local variable here? The answer is yes. The other thing we need to do first is call getCart username. Now, we don't need to do it if we've added to cart. We're already calling getCart username, but we want the user to be able to go to the shopping cart page from anywhere. So before the shopping cart loads, we want to make sure we're identifying who this person is. So we're querying the cart table for the current user. And then we need to pass data in our return statement. This should fix that error. So now our view is receiving from the controller method a list of data. Now I'm going to show you why we needed this local variable. If I don't use it, if I just try and do this, I try and inject my session variable right here. It doesn't give me an error, but at runtime this will die because this is a C#.NET object and this is a link query. And we can't inject method calls or namespace calls inside of a link query. So I'll try it like this, but this is probably going to give me an error. And instead, we need to use a local string variable instead in our query parameters. So it will allow me to build, but I think it's going to fail. So now when I refresh, this error is going to go away, but it's going to object to the link query the way I've written. I'll try it in both browsers, one where I'm logged in and the one where I'm not. Right? It doesn't recognize the session object inside of that link query syntax. Doesn't like this. So just use a local variable instead, that error should go away. So we put it from the session into a local variable, and then we use our local variable in our where clause. This should be permitted. Okay, now this is interesting. In Firefox, there's nothing here. But in Chrome, there is. How come? Not about a refresh. Yeah, you're on the right track, Emilio. Right, we built. So what happened to our session in Firefox? Whenever you build, your session gets destroyed. And look at our logic here. So when we're not logged in, so in both cases, our session is empty. But in Firefox, it says we don't know who the user is, so we're generating a new GUID, a new identifier for the cart. That doesn't match what's in the database because it's a new one every time I build. So these cart items basically are lost for now. But in Chrome, it's attached to the email address. So in Chrome, my items persist even if my session is destroyed. Now, if I go back to Firefox and shop again, now it should show up in my cart with a new ID. Okay. We want to also put a link in our nav bar to the cart. Users should always be able to go to their shopping cart. Right now, the only way to get here is add something to your cart, which we should allow users to come here directly. So let's put a link in our nav bar, and then we're going to need to make some changes here. This isn't a bad start with the scaffold. Obviously, we'll have to change some things. So to go to our layout and add more action link. With called the shopping cart method, our store controller. Now the user can always go and see their cart no matter where in the site they are. So I can leave the cart, go somewhere else, but now I have an easy way to get back to it. And my session is still active here, so even as an anonymous user, it knows I've got this product in my cart. I want to go and add something else. So this user's got 2 products in their cart. Here I'm logged in, I can go add something else. So what changes do we need to make to this view to make it kind of like a actual shopping cart page? Okay, so yeah, we could put a thumbnail of the product. It's a good idea. What else would you do with this? Right, we don't need details. The delete we probably still want. Okay, so edit should be able to update the quantity. I don't think we need to show the username. We could format this as the price. We can take out the create new link. And then what should we have at the bottom of this page? Total. Yeah, and a checkout button, or maybe a keep shopping and a checkout button. So let's make these changes and make this look like a proper, closer to a proper shopping cart page. So we'll go to shopping cart. I'll just maybe call it, I don't know, my cart. Take out. We'll add our alternating table rows. We'll also add the sortable class. The user can click on a column heading and sort it if they've got a really full cart. I want to sort by price. We'll take out the heading here that says username. We'll just leave that blank. And instead, if there is an image, we'll show it 75 pixels high. We'll show a thumbnail if there is one. If not, that column can just be blank. If our photo is not null, we'll show the thumbnail. Yeah, we'd probably be better to use a class for it. I'll just hard code it in. Probably not the best practice. I'm going to take out the details link. I'm going to take edit out for now. I don't know that we'll have time to deal with the product quantity. The delete link we still want so that users can remove an item from their cart. Let's see how these changes look so far. Okay. We can also format this as currency. In fact, I think we can do it through our cart model. If we add a display format in the cart model, that will hopefully automatically format those as currency. Data format string equals. We'll try the .NET currency formatting and see if that automatically does it. So again, that was on the price model on the price property of the cart model. We'll try and apply this formatting. Just going to refresh it and see if it worked. So we're also going to want to generate a running total that we can display down here. I refresh my session. I'll go to Chrome where I'm logged in. It'll keep my. So there it has currency with our data format string. So we want to calculate the total as we're looping through. We can display the total at the bottom and then add keep shopping and checkout buttons. We may or may not have time to remove from the cart. We'll see. So in our loop, maybe what I'm going to do up here is declare a variable. So we'll create and initialize a variable called total, and we'll give it a default value of 0. And then inside our loop, we can increment this value. So in our for each loop, we'll just add the current item's price Yeah, sorry, thank you. Should be. We'll multiply the price by the quantity, and we'll add that on so that we've got a running total, and we can just display our total variable down in a footer row. So after our loop, after our for each, we'll add one more row. So we've got how many columns here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we'll do is put the total here in the third column, and then we'll have maybe keep shopping checkout as buttons. So our first two columns are going to be blank. In our third column, and we'll also want to format that as currency, so I'll use string.format. Server side. We'll take our total, we'll format it as currency. Fourth column, we'll add a link to our store homepage. And in our fifth column, we'll add a checkout button. We'll see how that looks. We'll get the total. So yeah, it could still use some design love, but I think we have what we need on here. As a shopper, we can see everything in our. One other thing we could do to make this a little more user-friendly, and we commonly see it, is we could make the product names links back to the product. So we have a product details view. We could make these action links that go to the product details, which we've scaffolded. We have a product details view, so we can take them there. So in here, let's see. Maybe use a standard link. Goes to product details. So the product names will now be links. It goes to product details and passes the ID along. We'll see how that works out. Okay, well, we made that page private. We would have to make it public. Right now, it's only for administrators. The details page could probably be public. So to fix that, I'll just go to my product controller and find my details method. And in here, we will allow anonymous users. Oops. Or we could put in override authorization. Either one of those would allow an anonymous user in. So now I can click. We'd probably remove the edit. I won't worry about that for now. So if I click keep shopping, just takes me back to the main store page, so I can again go through, pick a category, pick a product, add to cart. If I click checkout, we now want to generate a checkout method and view. And this page is going to require authentication. So if I'm logged in, it's just going to take me straight to the checkout page. But if I'm anonymous, it's going to force me to ask me to log in or register and log in first. And most sites will work like this. Now, some will also give you guest checkout. We'll skip the guest checkout. You'll have to sign up at this point if you want to buy. So in our store controller, the first thing we'll do, call authorize. Anonymous users cannot go to the checkout page. ASP.NET Identity will direct them to the login page if they're not logged in, and it will force them to log in. And if they do, it will then let them carry on and continue to check out. It'll redirect them automatically. That's built right into ASP.NET Identity. We don't have to do anything special. So what should the users see? So here I am, I'm logged in already, in this case. I can see my cart. Site already knows who I am. What should I see in my browser when I click checkout? Yeah, let's go. If we have a look, well, actually back in our diagram, we probably want to ask the customer now for their address. We know who they are, but we need an address. And to keep it simple, we're only having one address in our site. There's not a billing address and a shipping address, or even more complicated, billing with multiple shipping addresses, right? It's Christmas and I want to send one product to my grandma in Florida and one to my grandma in British Columbia, right? So this product goes here. We're not going to do that. So we need to ask the customer for this information. And then we'll see, I don't think we'll have time to do payment. So we'll just kind of fake the payment part. And then we want to generate an order, save all the items from the cart into order details, and display a receipt, an order summary page. Customer can see everything, including their new order number. Right? And that order ID is super important to the customer. Why is it important to you to get an order ID when you buy something online? Right. What happens if you don't get what you've paid for, right? You've given some website online who you may not know your money. They're promising to send you something. If you don't get it, you need to have this order ID or this invoice number so you can bug them and say, hey, here's my order. Where are the things I bought that I paid for? So having a receipt page to give that to a customer is really important. Fortunately, we can scaffold that. We can create the order. We can just scaffold out what that invoice page looks like. Okay. So here, we're going to return a view. And again, we can actually scaffold the checkout page. I'll right-click checkout. We'll add a view called checkout. What template do we want here of these? Well, details will show us data. What do we want to do? Well, let's think about it this way. We're going to work with one of the model classes. Which model do we want to work with here? Nope. How you said it? What model? Yeah, we want to work with the order model. what do we want to do with the order model? Yeah, we want to create a new order. So if we pick the create template, right, we want to give the user an empty form so they can give us their customer information. We're going to use the create template based on the order model. This will scaffold out a form with all of the fields where we want to ask from our customer. So we'll call it checkout, uses the create template and the order model. We'll scaffold this. So the model is a single order, not a list, it's one order. It creates a form with our anti-forgery token, and now it has inputs. We may need to make a few changes to the scaffold, but let's see what it looks like so far. So now I'll click checkout. Again, if I'm not logged in, it's going to force me to log in. So at this point, it's probably easier for me just to use Chrome because I'm logged in. And we will have one complicated scenario. What if I've shopped anonymously and now I log in? Because the items in my cart are attached to some random ID. We'll deal with that later. We may have to deal with that one next week. Okay. So here's our checkout page. It's not bad. What should we change? We could, or better yet, where should the order date come from? Yeah, let's just take out this field altogether and we'll timestamp it when we save it in code. Okay, anything else? Yeah, the user ID, again, we'll hard code that in from the user identity in the session. One other thing here we can get rid of. We better get rid of. Yeah, the total. Here's my total, 0. So these first 3 fields we can remove. And then we can add, I don't think we have time, we could add display names to the order model so that our labels are first space name, last space name, postal space code. We're not going to bother with that just in the interest of time. So we'll just go to our first 3 sections on the form that are the order date, user ID, and total. So from lines 18 down to and including 40, I'm just going to delete those sections. We don't need them. We'll programmatically set the date, the user, and the total. So we'll just delete those. So now our checkout page looks like this. So there's our get method. We now need to write a post method that will process that form, fill out the 3 things we've removed, and save it to the order table. That'll generate an order ID. So this is also just a method will require authorization. And now we're going to write a post method at the same URL. We have a get and a post for checkout. Get shows the form, post saves the data. Now we need a couple of other annotations here. We need to specify the method, the HTTP post, to do something for security. What does our form have to prevent other sites from posting through our form? On line 12. We want to validate the anti-forgery token. So we know the post request is coming from our domain and not somebody else's domain. Again, the scaffolding has done this for us, but we're going to manually have to do it. We're not scaffolding this method, we're writing it ourselves. So we'll just build. Actually, that'll crash. And our parameter type's got to be a little different here. So in this case, we're accepting a form collection of values. This will give us an array of all of the form inputs in the post request. We still don't have a return statement. We don't want to return the checkout view again. What should happen when we're done saving the order? What should the user see in the browser? We could, or I would suggest we do want to redirect them, but I think we want to redirect them somewhere else, somewhere new. Ready? Yeah, let's redirect them to an to the order details page, and we can actually scaffold that. So we will return the redirect to action, and we'll redirect it to details method, the orders controller, which we will scaffold. So this page can be automatically generated. And then we'll just need to pass in now, I know it's showing an error here right now. That's okay. We have to save and generate that ID, and then we'll have this pass. So it's okay that I can't build yet. There, goes away. Whoops, and this is. We're going to create a new order. We're going to populate the order, save it to the database, and then try to load that page. So we're going to create a new order. Rather than validating each field one by one, it's called the built-in method try update. That automatically compares each input with the corresponding value in our order model to make sure it follows any requirements, data types, whatever validation rules we have. Now we're going to set the 3 auto properties that we removed from our form. So our order date use the date time namespace we call now that gives us current date and time. Sorry, it's not a method, it's a property. Our user ID is equal to our session. Actually, our users are logged in at this point, so we can just use user.identity.name. That'll give us the user's email address. The total we're going to have to calculate. So we'll have to come back to this one. So all the other properties are automatically populated from the form here. We don't manually have to fill username, last name, sorry, first name, last name, address. All that stuff's already done. So now we're going to need to query the cart table, get the list of items, and then do some math to calculate, multiply the price times quantity for each one, and then add those together. And and we'll put this in a variable and save this variable with our order. So this gives us all the items in the cart. We can actually write a link query to calculate the total of everything in one command, which is kind of neat. So for each item, we'll multiply the quantity by the price, and then we just sum the whole thing. Run the query. Within each result, calculate the price times quantity and add all the results together as a running total. We could do this in multiple lines, but link lets us do multiple things in one operation, which is cool. Saves us typing and time. We just set the total variable. Then we can save the order. We go db.orders.add. db save changes. So this will create a record in the orders table and generate an order ID. Not done quite yet, because this generates the order. What else do we have to do? Yeah, even before that, we have to save something else. Look at our database for a minute. So that will save an order here and generate an order ID with a date, a total, and a customer. What else do we need to save? If we had time to implement it, yes. What should happen to all the items in the customer's cart? As they're shopping and adding to cart, they're creating records in here. Okay, it should be deleted from the cart, yes, but where does it go? Where do those items go? Right, we've got to copy each one of those in here and attach them to the order ID. Making the orders not good enough if we just delete the cart, because then we don't know what they bought. So we have to create an order detail for every item in the cart, and once we're done, then we can clear it out of the cart. So it's sort of 3 steps. Generate the order, generate a detail for each product, and then clear out the cart. Okay. We've already got the items in the cart here. We queried them to get the total. So now we need to go through this list of cart items and create an order detail record for each one. So for each one of these, we're going to create a new order detail. Actually, just to save time, we can do it this way. We can set up the properties this way. We need to grab the order number. This is our foreign key. This attaches each item to this customer's order. Order detail table for a minute. So now we're mapping the product ID, quantity, and price from the cart table. We're mapping those to the order details table. And then we're going to add we save them in one operation. We'll just add them in our loop. And when we're done copying everything from cart to order details, we'll call save. We can save all of those in one push operation to the database. Lastly, and then remove each item. bd.cart.remove. Again, when our loop is done, all save changes. Deleted everything from the cart. So if I go back to my cart, it should be empty. We'll just try this, and then we'll scaffold this page in 10 seconds, and we'll be done. I know I'm going a bit quickly here. I like to try to finish it and not make the other class late that's coming in. So create an order, generate an ID, add the item, copy the items from the carts to the order items, attached with our new order ID, and then clear out the cart. Let's try it. So I'll just refresh my cart. So you will need to be logged in to do this. We didn't have time to deal with an anonymous shopper. I should get a 404 error if all goes well. Good. I got order details. It gave me an order number that starts with a 2000. We can go check the database and at least see what's happening. So in the cart table, this record should go away. There should be nothing in my cart now. Which there isn't. That's good. Let's have a look at orders. Order details. So here's my order as a customer. Gave me the right order total, timestamped it correctly, got the correct username, and my order 2000 has 2 products on it. So it's saved correctly. If we just scaffold the orders controller and all the views now, we should be able to load the order confirmation page. So I'll just go to my controllers and add a controller with views. My model class is order. called the orders controller. I'll just let it scaffold. Then I should be able to build, go back and refresh, and I should be able to load my order confirmation. Right now, it's all public. We probably should make this all private. Authorize. You can't look at orders if you're not logged into the site. So now if I refresh my order details, it should actually show me my order total, my order date. But there's info about my order, right? I can see, probably want to show the order number here. The other thing we could just quickly do at the bottom is show the products that I bought, right? It doesn't actually show me the order number and it doesn't show me the products. So we'll do this really quickly. I'll just go to orders details. I'll add in here at model dot put the ID in my heading, which shows my order number. And down here, I'll take this out. Items. Now we can loop through the order details. I'll just put in a simple table. Where we can show the name. Yes. And the quantity. So I can see my items. I didn't have any table headings, just trying to do it quickly. So this is useful as a customer, right? I could go in and see my order history. I can see what I bought. But we can also show this in the admin panel so the site owner can look up the orders and then process them. So this page could have two purposes, and it shows my order number now up here in the heading in bold. So if I don't get my watch in my book, I can call the everything store and say, hi, I got order at number 2000. Where's my stuff? Okay. So just a reminder, I'm going to put everything up on Git. Reminder, your assignments are due at 5 o'clock next Tuesday. And I've got extra office hours, which you can book on Friday if you do need help with your assignments. Okay, I'll throw everything up on GitHub right now. Sorry, I won't have the other class is waiting, so I'm afraid I won't have time to answer questions right now. I'm happy to make an appointment to see you, but we got to let the other students come in.